Did you send your student for ACT tutoring at a place called Mind Sculpt Games, known for its card game tournaments and board games? If it had the right reputation, you would. This is Boom or Bust with Darcy at Mind Sculpt Games, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of my background and part of our business plan here with Mind Sculpt Games. Now, Mind Sculpt Games has a logo with a brain in it and some dice and some cards around it because we really do believe that games build brains. Now, I also believe that experience and strategic teaching can help students score better on high-stakes testing. A little bit of my background: I started off out of college as an AP language and composition teacher at the high school I graduated from. And right from the get-go, I was prepping students for high-stakes testing. I taught juniors, so they had the ACT, they had the state test, and my biggest test that I purposefully gunned for and taught for was the AP language and composition test that would happen at the end of the year to see if the kids could get college credit, which would be accepted pretty well across the nation by colleges to count a high school course as college credit. Now, AP language prepared me to teach students about grammar, writing structure, form, critical reading, and the ACT contains a lot of those components. Now, I was an upward bound as a high school student. I got some ACT prep through that program, and I took the ACT 3 times, and each time I got a little better. Now, what I like to do, and I think I've run, it's hard to count, probably 8 ACT camps where students came in. We did 8 to 10 hour sessions. The last one I was doing in Salina, I was charging $200 per student for, because when we charged a little less, I had 19 students in one session, and it was too many. But here in Great Bend, the first ACT session we run at Mind Sculpt Games will only be $50. Now that's pretty cheap, but I'll tell you the reason why is my reputation from Salina didn't follow me in the same way. People would actively seek me out in Salina for ACT tutoring, whether it was private tutoring or group tutoring. And honestly, I was turning people back at the end because I couldn't replicate myself or have enough hours, and I had kids at home. So part of what we want to do with Mind Sculpt Games, we have the table space, we have the clean area, we have a TV set up so we can project our items from our computer. We're going to do ACT testing. In fact, we have a set of official ACT prep guides for 2017-2018, and having done ACT prep strategy in the past, I've probably answered most of the questions in the book myself on this, but we've had a lot of success. My former business was Leach Tutoring, and we would run ACT camps at St. John's campus in Salina, and we had students that took the ACT 3 or 4 times trying to get an 18, didn't get there, took the prep course, ended up with over a 21 on the ACT, and got into the college of his choice. It's actually one of my favorite stories because that kid, when he saw me after his ACT test, he came up, he bear hugged me, held me in the air, and he said, "Mrs. Leach, you just saved the path of my life." And it was a good feeling. It was probably the most heartfelt hug I've ever had as an educator. My students normally don't pick me up and bear hug me. But this was a guy who was trying to get through the ACT. The last time he took it, last time he took it before tutoring, he quit, he fell asleep, and he just accepted a 0 on the science portion because he thought he was doing so bad in the test that he would rather just give up. And he felt so much pressure from his family to get that 18, to get that 21, to be able to go to the college that his family wanted him to, that he wanted to, that he really felt if he couldn't pass that test, he couldn't meet the standards he wanted to. So that's one realm of success. We've also had students who have like a 23 and want to get to a 25 because it'll save them a couple grand a year at the local state schools. And those students, they're actually pretty easy to work with because you can just nudge a couple points up by some specific strategies, working the clock, looking at which math questions to answer, brushing up on some grammar. Most common ideas here, like writing tight. If you can master writing tight and know that it's a purposeful ACT strategy that's graded, you can boost your English score a couple points just by focusing on that rule. I've also had students, actually 2, that went to the U.S. Air Force Academy after taking the ACT camp because they needed to raise their scores. They wanted the most competitive scores they could have. One student had had a 28 before. He'd actually taken ACT prep before, and he was studying pretty hard, so the ACT camp doesn't do it all. But after taking the ACT camp, doing the studying, working through the book, paying attention in class, he actually scored a 32 on his ACT, went to college for free, and the best part for him was he beat his twin brother on the ACT, so he was happy with that competitive urge. But at Mind Sculpt Games, we really do believe games build brains, but we want to do more than that. We want to be a source for the community where we can up the level of rigor and the level of ability for families that game together, families that want to invest in education. So sure, you can grab Cubo off our shelves and you can build some spatial logic skills and some quick math skills with your family when they're 8. But when you got a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, and an 18-year-old, and they're looking at the biggest stakes test of their life, whether it's the ACT or the SAT, if you want to talk to me about that, we want to make more options available for people. We want to be able to open the door for opportunity when kids are in high school. So if you let your kids game with us from, I don't know, age 8 up, or if as a family you're buying games like Flock or Word Whimsy or Braintopia, and then you're building those skills that are going to help them succeed on this test. So the ACT has 4 different tests. The first one is English grammar. Not going to brag, but I'm just going to give you some background so I can convince you to send your kids to me for the ACT. I'm a published author. I wrote from my mother, surviving and thriving in a family with genetic disease. And in that process, there was a lot of grammar that I had to use and had to edit with. Now, to be able to get there, I'm not going to say I'm an expert in grammar, but ACT grammar I've studied quite a bit. To be able to get there, actually, it's been a life goal to be a writer. You want to know why I picked to teach English? Because I wanted to write. And I thought if I teach English, I'll have daily exposure in grammar and rhetoric, ethos, pathos, logos, all those nice things, and I'll be able to meet my goals by my daily job building me up. So I taught English. In fact, I tried to teach the hardest English I could. So I sought out a job for AP English, and I ended up with AP Language, which is an intense writing course. It goes through grammar, rhetoric, editing, all the skills you need to do well on the ACT grammar test. So I didn't actually I didn't start looking to tutor for the ACT, but after a couple years, maybe even 2 years of teaching AP Language, I had students asking, can you tutor? Or parents asking, can you tutor my daughter over summer? She really needs to raise her points in the ACT grammar, and I think you can do it. So I took a couple of students on, and I saw the first student I ever tutored for the ACT. We worked specifically with with grammar, and she was one of my AP students. So I knew her background, I knew her weaknesses, I knew her strengths, and she went from a 21 to a 29 on the ACT grammar portion. And I thought, wow, I could really do this. So I got serious about looking through the ACT. The second portion is math. I don't have a lot of math background, but in high school, math was my highest section on the ACT. It's kind of always been my highest test score. I have to work really hard on the math, but I can talk to you about the test-taking strategies and the point allocations for math and how to attack the math as a strategic test attempt to get your best score. So I'm really good at helping students raise up to a 25 in math, a couple points there. Maybe up to a 28. If you're looking to score a 32, 34 in math, I could probably help you, but honestly, we're looking at an overall composite here, and my strengths, the second test maybe isn't my biggest strength, but it's not really a weakness. I can do it. I've studied for it, put lots of hours into it. The third test on here is the reading comprehension test, and again, teaching AP Language for 6 years and working hard to become a writer. This is what I've spent a lot of my life working towards, is this type of comprehension. So I've done a lot of these reading tests myself. I've taught a lot of students these reading tests. We would actually use ACT portions in my AP class every year and in my English 3 class. So for 6 years, I taught kids how to directly work strategies in the ACT. I've also worked with students that weren't in my English class for the ACT reading comprehension. The truth about the reading comprehension test is you got to be a reader. The more often you read, the better you're going to do at that test. And you need to be a technical reader. So again, another pitch for Mind Sculpt Games being the place where games build brains. But if you make your kid read the instructions for a game like Catan Jr., and you play them through it and they're learning to read technical reading and then putting it into action and seeing how technical language plays out in the real world, that's a good thing. So while all these games are fun in themselves, if you ever make your kids read the instruction books, honestly, the ACT has that technical type of writing. And the fourth test is probably one of those easy ones to raise scores on too. It's the science test, which is a critical reading test with graphs. So an English teacher is actually probably the best person to help you out with the science test, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing that technical reading, like instructions, graphs. You know, if you play games, you might work with some of that stuff naturally. But the reading comprehension in the science portion is pretty easy to teach to. And you can start to notice patterns in the questions and what they're asking and tie the language to some comprehension skills that helps the student accelerate. So, knowing my past history, I've probably worked with about 50 students on the ACT. I can help you especially with the ACT grammar portion. I can help you with the reading comprehension if the issue is time, particularly. I can help you with the math portion if you're looking to strategically move your score up. And if you're not finishing the math portion, we can talk about test strategy and how to maximize your score. And the science portion, you might think, what's this English lady know about science? But it's really technical reading, and I've had a lot of success moving students up in the science portion. So Mind Sculpt Games, if you look at our logo, we do have the brain, we do have the red, we do have the black. It's a lot like this ACT book, and that's not on accident. But we want to be able to be a community source. We want to be a resource for people looking to raise their goals in education and learning. So we sell games, we have card tournaments where people think real hard about reading and math and try to strategically choose what's the best outcome, what's the best play. And we also, for the year that you're going after the ACT, or the 2 years, or the 3 if you're one of those serious preppers, I've worked with freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. After I was an AP English teacher for 6 years, I was a gifted facilitator for a year, and then I ran program-wide ACT prep, and I had freshmen through seniors, and I worked with all different grade levels. I've even worked with middle school students on ACT prep. And all of them are able to make improvements. So this first session is the best deal you're going to see, because my reputation from Salina didn't follow me. I need to build it back up. So people that sign up for our first ACT session, which will start October 4th, I better check. It'll start for the October test date. It'll be just $50. $50 for 8 hours of intensive prep, and it includes this book. Now, I'm not making a lot of money, but what I need to do is I need to lay the seeds, I need to build our reputation up, I need people to know that Mind Sculpt Games is a place to build brains, including for high-stakes testing that can save families thousands of dollars. So we're giving it away pretty cheap in those first sessions. So I will link to this. You'll see a Google form, or sorry, not a Google form. You'll see the page for Leach Tutoring that is converted to be ACT Mind Sculpt Camp, and then you can sign up for your student. You can tell your friends about it. I don't know whether you trust me or not yet to work with your kids for the ACT, so you can check the website. It has some of the past results. You can message me about it. I didn't teach in this town for 6 years as an AP language teacher, so I could tell you my reputation was good enough in Salina that people came to me. But the $50 is pretty attractive, so hopefully I can find the right students, help their scores build, and we can start building up Mind Sculpt Games as a go-to tutoring spot in Barton County.